Hello everybody and welcome to another Transformers third party review. Thanks again to the guys over at Robot Kingdom for making this video possible. Today we are taking a look at the latest offering from those guys over at GCreation. It's part of their combined Legends line, Shuraking SRK-04 Blade, aka Dinobot Swoop. Taking a quick look around the box, we've got Swoop in his robot mode, he's got his weapons, his swords, his wings bending over, we've got him in his dino mode, and of course he does form the arm of the mighty Shuraking. Straight out of the box we can see that Swoop does come jam-packed full of accessories. We get his instruction manual and a card. We also get a small rubber set of mats we can put on the base of Shuraking to stop his feet sliding outwards. We get a massive clear Shuraking sword. That is a gorgeous sword. Love the look of that. That is absolutely massive. It's huge! We get some adapters. We get our first look at a Shuraking hand. Lovely gold on the end of those fingers there. Nice ball joints. Love these claw sections as well. Looks extremely aggressive. We get two regular swords for Swoop. I'll get those out of the packaging, as well as two missiles which can either be held in his hand as guns or wing mounted. And speaking of wings, we get some huge silver chromed wings. They look gorgeous. To add the wings onto Swoop, you've got this section here at the back, and if we bring the wing section in, basically we're going to slide that in and slide that down, so that goes in and down, locking into place, and then you just want to give it a little nudge upwards on that hinge, and that is the wing in place. Wings consist of 4 hinges. You've got one on the base, 2, 3 and 4. That's one ridiculously large wingspan. Now we're going to be able to use the wings in the combined form of Shuraking, hence the size, but man, they are massive. He has 2 of these pretty standard swords we can just slide into the pegs in his hands. Nice silver, nice red. That's the same sort of red we've been getting throughout the Shuraking. It literally just slides in to the peg holes on his hand and secures quite firmly. The guns are the same. You have this tab here which can peg into his hands, or you can flip this down and this square peg is going to tab into his wings. I personally like them being tabbed in on the wings. It just reminds me a lot more of the G1 toy. Now the Shuraking giant sword can also be inserted into Swoop's hand. Although we've got a lot of weight being distributed here on the back section here and the sword, he doesn't balance as well as I would have liked. The feet themselves are pretty stable, and we've got quite a long heel spur at the back here, but it's just the weight distribution isn't as I would like it. He is a little bit back heavy, and then with the sword being out, I mean the joints are nice and tight so we can hold the sword at various angles, but I like to keep the sword pinned on the back section of Swoop. 1, because it does help a little bit with stability, and 2, I just think he looks freaking awesome with a huge sword attached to his back. It's very, very easy to install. There's just a peg on the back there which allows the sword to clip on. He is a gorgeous looking Swoop. He's a little bit more robust and stocky than what I'm generally used to with the Swoop figures, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. They've taken a very G1-esque design with this kind of chest section here, and they've kind of pumped some Dino Energon steroids into him and given us a very aggressive, kind of combat-ready Swoop. Love the face sculpt on this figure. Again, kind of emphasises that battle-ready image that I had in mind for him. Not too keen on the little hole there. Obviously, that's where the chest section does plug in on his robot mode. Love these big hench shoulders that he's got there. Looks like he's so beefed up. Great paint applications throughout. No paint flaking at all. Got some metallic paint being used there, as well as some standard unpainted plastic. Got these nice rings around the wrist. Coming down to the crotch area, we have the highlighted, kind of chromed out sections there. And then we go down to the legs, we've got these gold sections. Going all the way down. And these are the problem areas. We've got the lovely detailing on the side of the leg. But the feet are a big pain in the backside. we have a very long surface area. So in theory, he should stand remarkably well. But unfortunately, that is just theory. The heel itself is too small. The foot needs to kind of come back. As he's being balanced, he's putting all of the pressure on the front section of the foot here, and that is just on a hinge, and it will move. The feet do lock, and they do swivel in and outwards, and you do get some really tight rotations on this section, but I just don't think there's enough of a heel spur there to get a decent balance on him, because these wings are extremely heavy and they do tend to have him tilt backwards. I like to have him stanced so this back leg is slightly perched positioned at the back, so he's got that kind of bend and that kind of aggressive look to him, but he is still remarkably back heavy. Now please don't get me wrong, all the joints are exceptionally tight, they work remarkably well, and he is absolutely jam-packed with articulation. It just takes you a little bit more time to get him balanced in that kind of attacking pose or the flight pose, just because of the small surface area at the back of that hinge. If we had, say, this much more on the back of the heel, I think he would be a lot better balanced, but that is me nitpicking. I'm going to have him displayed as an arm. I think it's one of those figures you kind of want 3 of, so you can have him in his bot mode, you can have him in his pterodactyl or pterodon? Pterodon, I think it is, isn't it? And you can have him in his combined form. That's one of the things I love about these GCreation figures. They are gorgeous in all 3 modes. That's something that's very difficult to pull off. Something else that genuinely impresses me is how big this guy is. He's pretty darn large, isn't he? He's probably, I don't know, say a head shorter than Masterpiece Optimus Prime, and you put him with your Henkei KO Prime and he towers over him. That actually looks like a pretty good scale, doesn't it? Now, unfortunately, this is where my biggest problem lies with this guy. He's very tall. Grimlock is still taller, because Grimlock is king. I just always saw Swoop as being shorter than Sludge and Snarl. Right, now let's cover his articulation. The head can move back and forwards. He's on a separate joint there, kind of swivels and on a ball, which is nice. We're going to go left and right. Fairly nice range of motion there. The shoulders can come up. They do tend to catch on this chest section there if you bring the whole joint upwards. Let's have that back in. It comes all the way up, all the way back down. There's a sliding joint in there as well, so we can kind of pivot the shoulder up and down a little bit further. We do get an upper bicep rotation. We get a bend at the elbow and a rotation at the wrist. I do like the fact you've got this rocking motion on the shoulder as well, so you can kind of butterfly them forwards and back a little bit, which is kind of nice. The waist does rotate. Get a fairly nice range of motion there before hitting Swoop's beak. Does untab, so you can get a full range, but officially if it's tabbed in, you can kind of go to either thigh before you get any clearance issues. Leg comes this far forwards, this far back, this far out, upper thigh rotation, bit of a squeaky one. Lovely bend on those knees, and then we get down to the feet. Now, they are on a rocking motion on the inside there, so you can rock that forwards and back. We do have pivot both ways. We do get toe movement up and down. So we get a pretty dynamic range. Right, now let's get Blade transformed up into his Dino mode. Our first port of action is to just untab those wings. So the same as we did, but in reverse. Just kind of push those wings upwards, like so. Come around to the head, making it square. Bring up the Dino beak section, and you're just going to tab those two together, like so. You then want to extend this section outwards. Look at that. Untab these chest sections here. They're going to come all the way up and bring those up like so. Same with this side. Untab, bring that up like so. Come around to the shoulders. You want to make sure that this shoulder section here is completely flat. So just push that shoulder section inwards. Come around to the arm, making sure that's straight. Collapse the shoulder up. Come around to the back section here. You want to flip the wrist down. Make sure the hand is square. Rotate that around. And this line here just needs to line up with these, so when you push this back, it will tab into place. Come around to the chest, and these two sections here are going to slide into the middle. Rocking this shoulder joint back, there's these two tabs here and two holes in this arm here. You want to rock that shoulder, and as you do, bring this in and give it a good push so it clicks into place. You can then bring these shoulder sections up, and this section here, it's got to be flat as we bring it over. And we're going to bring the shoulder over, and rather than tabbing into here, there's now this tab here, so I can just flip over and tab and locate in that side. So bring that red shoulder joint right the way down, rock this over, and as this rocks over, that is going to just line up with this shoulder. And he says, there, tabbing that nicely into place, kind of tidying all that up. Next port of call, put the tail downwards, lift this leg section up and outwards, like so. Come down to the feet. You want to just collapse this section inwards, like so. Grab this side section, and that's going to come up. And you've got a tab here. These are going to tab together. Just line those up like this. If you come to the back here, there's this rocker just below the actual thigh. We're going to bring the legs up and over on that joint. By habit, this joint here wants to move. We actually want to use the grey joint, so we'll bring those up, and then that's going to bend up. And as we do, there is this slot here, and this here, that's going to tab into the back. Just move the head so we can get a nice clear image of that, and then just push that in. You can then come back round to the tail and bring that up. Bring the head back forwards, and then using the second set of hinges, just maneuver that backwards, and there we have the dino head. If I just open up his mouth, laser gun in there, it's not the easiest thing to get out, but there it is. So we can have that like that. Then we just have to reattach the wings. Now I'm not entirely sure if it's essential to remove the wings. It's just a lot easier when you're doing it if they're out of the way. So bring them in, work that down the joint, and do that with both sides. And there we have him in his dino mode. That's actually not that bad. I really see why the third parties struggle. I mean, it is so difficult to get rid of those shoulders and to give the dino kind of a more dino-realistic chest. It's the same with this, it's the same with Fan Size, it was the same with Toy World. It's really difficult to get a very G1 homaged figure and kind of not have a big bulky chest. But I do like him in his dino mode. That's a pretty sweet mode, if I do say so myself. I love this smoked section on the front here. Yeah, it was the Diaclone figure that was red, wasn't it? Or was the original toy red? I know there was a variant which was blue, which is what we got with the animation. People have asked, is there a blue chest that comes with this? No, unfortunately there is not. We just have the red. If you're holding out for a blue, I very, very much doubt we're going to get a blue variation of this. You could probably paint it yourself, but unfortunately red is red. And here they are all together in their dino modes. Now I'm not going to lie to you, as much as I love this set, it's frustrating keep swapping and changing them between Dinobot and combined mode. I'm doing it for the purpose of the review, obviously, but it's so time consuming. As good as these transformations are, they're not overly simplistic and they're not overly fun. The end results are phenomenal, but I just wish I had 3 of each figure because it would make my reviewing time a lot smaller. That's the trouble. I'm juggling a full-time job, a newborn child, a 7-year-old, and of course my reviews. Not enough hours in the day, unfortunately. Anyway, I digress. They all look fantastic together. Although my son, being a paleontologist, apparently, came and told me today, he said, "Daddy, he is way too small, he is way too big." There we go. Straight out of the horse's mouth, the 7-year-old has told me that the scale on these is incorrect. Now this is of course the first arm we have for our Shuraken Combine, so let's get him transformed up. Again, unfortunately we do have to just remove the wings. Let's just slide those up and they just pop off. You want to untab the leg sections, bring them around to the front. As we bring them around, we can plug these legs back in, bring those up, come round to these feet sections, and these feet are actually on a sliding joint. You see the joint on the inside there? That actually slides forwards. So again, slide that forwards on both feet, undo this, and you want to just lift the toes up like so. Open up this flap on the back of the leg, and these legs are actually going to rotate up and around like so. And as you can see, these flaps have opened. They're now going to line up with that hole on the inside of the leg. Just push that in. It's a very nice, tidy transformation. You then want to bring the bird leg down to this position. Now this next step is vitally important. There is a hidden hinge and joint on the inside of the chest here. Do not tug this and break it. It is locked in there. This section here is spring loaded. You press that and that allows that joint to come out. It's coming out fully. You can compress it back in, but don't force it out. You will snap the joint. Press that spring-loaded action. We give this a really nice pull, and you know it's fully clear when you see the underside of this joint here. And basically, when it comes out, we want to move it a full rotation around. Open up this chest section. That's going to slide all the way across. Now come around to this back section. This is on a hinge. You want to lift this up, then allows us to pull this peg down. We can then bring this section back down. This gap here, you basically want to maneuver the pterodactyl neck so it comes through this gap. Just by giving it a little push, it will bring this hinge back downwards, because the idea is to get this pretty much flush with this section here. So bring the hinge backwards, give it a little push. That's all the way back there. Now we can lapse this bird section, a bird beak, you know what I mean, back down like so. And you've got this hinge section here that can kind of just cover up this section or bring up to the top. It does cover all of this back section off. And this, of course, is our combining joint. Now we have these two sections of the hand. You want to slide that in. It's just on a mushroom peg. It's going to slide into the hand joint. Extremely tight. That's just going to close off, and you can put it around whichever way you see fit. If we then open up the leg sections, you'll see that there's a couple of tabs here and another tab on the inside there. They're going to line up, and you're going to do that with both sides. Pretty much straightforward, what you'd kind of come to expect from these. It's just a matter of lining those up. Come on, in you go. And then just compress that all off. We can then bring the gun sections in. They're going to slide into the forearms. God, this is getting really beefy. Come round to this joint section. I thought, it's a very narrow joint, isn't it? But we get the adapter. This is where this comes into play. You slide the adapter in like so. And then we've got all this extra range of motion here to play with. And we now got an extension on that joint. Right. So there we have a complete Swoop as an arm. We have the joint here, so we can move the shoulder up and down, and we're going to have a joint on Grimlock, which will allow us to get a much fuller range. We have a rotation there at the elbow at 2 points. We get a nice bend there. We could also got the actual rotation here as well, which uses Swoop's legs. We get rotation on the wrist. We get a ball jointed thumb. We get individual fingers all pinned at the center there, but you do get individual little claw motions there, so we can bend it over and form a really nice wrist. We get a pivot on the wrist as well. It's just a very sleek, very hench looking arm mode. Genuinely very impressed by that. It's nice and tidy, holds together extremely well. Bear in mind, we do have to use this spring-loaded section, otherwise we will be damaging this joint here. But there's a lot of motion in there. That joint does a lot. It's very strong ratchet. Plenty of clicks in there, so we should be able to get some amazing range with this figure. Genuinely extremely excited. And he can also hold the Shuraking blade. Not sure what the transcription on there is. Looks very Cybertronian. Oh, what a beast! And here is the arm next to KO Henkei Prime. Just to give you an idea of the scale, it's a very large arm. Now I'll do a full Shuraking combined mode when we get their interpretation of Slag. I think personally Shuraking needs a video on his own because he is a marvel to behold. Genuinely extremely impressed by this. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it. Because Toy World's one was a complete mess. It was darn awful. This, on the other hand, you can tell has always been designed to be a combiner. I love the fact they've incorporated these additional pieces to peg in to really secure that joint. It's a glorious, glorious arm. You don't have to have the guns on. You can just pull those out. It looks good with and without. I just think they really bulk up the forearms, that's all. Yes, it's a really nice piece. Honestly, cannot wait to get their Slag. I know, of course, these are quite spaced out in release, which is good for my wallet and good for my marriage. My wife doesn't like me spending too much. So I honestly cannot wait to get the final member of the team, and we can combine them all up. Once again, I do apologise, I don't show as many comparisons as I used to. It's just, I just do not have time. I cannot juggle the family life, the newborn, the job, and this. Unfortunately, this is only a part-time thing for me. I wish I could do it full-time, but hey-ho, I'm not one of the big boys, and props to them, they deserve to be able to do this full-time. Thanks again to Robot Kingdom for making this review possible. I hope you found the video useful. If you have, please feel free to share it, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. And until next time, from myself and Blade, thanks for watching. Goodbye.